Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Please, if you are just joining, hit the share button. Hit the share button. Today we're gonna be talking much about Dr. Arikana. You know, Dr. Arikana is the former ambassador of AU to the United States. She is a medical doctor. She's also an activist, and she's a public speaker, an educator, diplomat. She's a founder of the medical clinics, and she's also an entrepreneur. You all already know her. She's been very, renowned for her activism about African and Pan-Africanism. And she's a true Pan-Africanist, and she has been educating African diaspora for years now about the colonizers. And she has been so loud when it comes to she's been very loud and vocal about France activities in the continent of Africa. So today we're going to be talking some of her ideas and how she has her ideas and her vocality, how her ideas has moved a lot of African countries in the few years. And she has been talking much about how the colonizers like France still usurp the resources of Africa, and this woman is so brilliant, I'm saying, is intellectually gifted, and she's well spoken and extremely inspiring. I mean, when you listen to her, you see that she is a political maverick, because she will make an incredible leader. She says she don't want to be the president of Zimbabwe, so she's married to a Ghanaian though, but currently she lives in America, and she is the founder of the African Diaspora Development Institute. So she's her job is to inspire Africans to make sure that Africans understand about why France has been so prominent in Africa. She has been focusing on the French Pact in Africa, how France is still using some of the 14 former French colonies in Africa. And before these coups in Africa, she was the one that has been sounding the alarm, about how France's presence in Africa is still causing a lot of African leaders issues when it comes to leadership and African resources. So imagine what we are talking about here. France is when you see most of the time when French presidents and ministers when they go to Africa, they are greeted by protests. Most of the time when they go there, the citizens don't welcome them. When you see when Jacques Chirac and the others, Macron, and when they go to Africa, you see the citizens know that they are coming because they want the resources of Africa. When they visit these African countries, even if the protests are about other issues, they still protest. The citizens of these countries protest. But what is it that these countries are still protesting, that they don't want France? They don't want France in their country. Madam Dr. Arikana has emphasized on this pact issue. Those pact that French signed with these former French colonies, okay, is still impacting the political, economic, and social life of these countries. Okay, so they call it the Francophonie. Okay, so every year these countries meet in France. They call it France Afrique. Okay, why are they meeting all the time? When you see someone like Dr. Arikana, who is a true Pan-Africanist, you know, she has been educating Africans about this France-Afrique relationship and how the colonizers, have been what they have been doing in Africa and how they still keep imposing their presence in Africa. Okay, I'm not aware of any person that has done much as Dr. Arikana in the fight against the perpetration of French atrocities in Africa. She has been tooth and nail on this issue. Okay, I really respect her for that. She's putting all her best, making sure that all the voiceless Africans understand. Most, even the French, the present Francophones or Francophonie countries, they did not even know about this pact, okay, that France signed with these 14 African countries. The thing is that we have like a crisis going on in southern Cameroon between Ambazonia and La République du Cameroon, right? Where France is, has allowed one person to rule most of the time. That's what they do. The presidents that you see in Africa, in most of these French African countries that have ruled for 30, 40 years, they are there because of the backing of France. Okay, France cannot afford to allow these people there for that long. Check what happened in Gabon. The Ali Bongo, the Bongo family, they have ruled that country, Gabon, for more than 50-something years. One family. Cameroon, La République du Cameroon, the same thing. Okay. That is why in 2016, when the crisis between Ambazonia and La République started, it was because of this issue, right? Where all the resources are being usurped by France. Okay, the major companies that make money in that country are owned by French companies. Are French companies. Talk about Bocom Oil Company is the one exploiting oil. Bocom. Talk about the other companies like the one who Bolloré. Bolloré is a company that is running the oil and the train. The train is in charge of the rail. The rail is running. The only rail station is Bolloré. Bolloré is the one running the shipyard. He's the one in charge of all the ship in the port, the seaport in Douala. Is Bolloré controlling it? And all the containers, everything that comes in is Bolloré that's controlling. So you ask yourself, how are these countries surviving when France is there controlling everything? It is just terrible. Okay, believe it or not, this French presence in Africa get worse and worse every day. Don't be surprised. Almost how many coups for the last 3 years? How many coups have happened in these French African countries? And the coups that are happening now are not the ones that France organized, right? Because they are fed up. These countries are fed up because the imposition of French presence. Okay, imagine those pacts that France signed, okay, Dr. Arikana has been very, very much bouncing on this issue of the pact that France signed with these African countries, okay. France has the first right to buy or reject natural resources. Imagine all these 14 African countries. France has the first right to buy or reject any natural resources found in the land of these francophone countries. Okay. Cameroon is also part of these 14 African countries. There's no doubt why you see this uprising and coup coming up in these countries today, right? I understand why the people of Amazonia took up the challenge, because they saw their country being usurped by France. Okay, they stood up because of that, and it is now that most people are understanding why the people of Amazonia, southern Cameroon, because they have all the oil, they have the resources, but it's been exploited by French companies. Okay, timber is exploited by a French company. Oil exploited by a French company. Okay, the seaport, anything that passes through there, the cocoa and coffee, the natural resources have been exploited by French companies. So you ask yourself, but what are the local companies doing? What are the citizens of these countries doing that they cannot own a company that can control these resources, right? So people don't understand that this is because of the pact. Okay, this pact that France signed. Okay, the prices are determined by France. Okay, so even if these African countries can get better prices elsewhere, they can't sell to anybody until France says, okay, it doesn't need these resources, then they can sell to any other countries. So France determined the prices. Imagine the price of cocoa in Cameroon during this crisis in Amazonia. Amazonia is the highest producer of cocoa and coffee in this region, okay, in the Central African region. France is the one that determined the price of cocoa and coffee, timber, oil, gas, anything that comes from that region. The people of Amazonia are now very, very angry because they cannot see what they can have, because they imagine in that union, the people of Amazonia has about 60 to 70% of revenue is coming from the Amazonian region. So what do they gain? Nothing. They have no gain. They see nothing. So this contract affects not only La République du Cameroon, it affects Amazonia, because they are the ones that have the resources. Yes, the timber that they exploit, the oil, the rubber, all these resources that they come and exploit in the southern Cameroon, Amazonia land. The people of Amazonia do not see anything. Okay, so France, because of this, they have that right. And I understand the point that Madam Dr. Arikana has always been pointing about. This issue that France is the one to determine the price of the goods of these 14 African countries. Think of it. The presidents of these CFA countries, these 14 African countries, they have tried to leave this CFA zone, They have tried, okay, but they face political and financial pressure, okay. all these 14 African countries, they still have the French franc. They still have the French franc. Meaning that they cannot leave the French franc. If they do, they'll be in big trouble with France. Remember, they tried to do what they call the ECO. The ECO did not work out because France had to threaten some of them, political threat and financial threat. That's what they do with them when they give you sanctions. Okay. So France has an influence in the AU, the African Union. It has influence in ECOWAS. It has influence in CEMAC. France is the owner of CEMAC, the Central African countries. Many countries too are in ECOWAS. So France has powers in these regional organizations, and it has powers now in AU. That's why AU is a toothless bulldog. There are conflicts in Africa. AU cannot pass any resolution because it's controlled by France. That's why people are asking them, what is happening with AU that is EU or other organizations that will come and be talking about African issues? Okay, what is wrong with the AU that is of the African Union? What is wrong with them? I heard that Dr. Arikana will be contesting for the position of the chairperson for the AU. I hope he does, because he will be the best person to have that position. Remember, she was fired as the ambassador, the AU ambassador to America, because of her vocal, outspoken rhetorics. So she was fired. so imagine these countries, they cannot produce their own currencies. Okay, the British colonized countries, the former British colonies under the banner of the Commonwealth, they have their own currencies. Britain did not force them to have the British pounds. No, most of them they were using the British pounds during the colonial days. But when they got their independence, Britain allowed them to go ahead with their own currencies and so on and so forth. Okay, but at the end of the day, they are still under Commonwealth, right? Like how these French African countries are under they are under their Francophonie. France Afrique. Okay. Then all these countries are still under British leadership. Okay, you know that countries that have prime ministers, they are still being ruled from the United Kingdom under the kingdom. Okay, the king and the queen, Queen Elizabeth. So Australia, some countries that have prime ministers, you know that they don't have presidents. Like Canada don't have a president. They have a prime minister. So they take their, like Australia, the British Kingdom is still in charge of these countries. Okay, Canada still take orders from the United Kingdom because they have the prime ministers. They don't have president. Okay, that is so Britain still has its presence in most of these former colonial, but they have what we call indirect rule. Okay, but France used the direct rule. Okay, that's the difference. So France imposed, that's what they call assimilation. And you see, that's why the people of Southern Cameroon and Bazonia could not stand this assimilation policy. For the past 60 years, the only thing that France has tried to do keep one president in power for 40 years, President Paul Biya. They tell him that, okay, keep these people in bondage. Okay, the people of Southern Cameroon were colonized by the British. Okay, they had their own system and everything. Okay, but when this federal system came together, they had to have that kind of joint system. Okay, federal system that did not work out. So we cannot blame the people of Ambazonia for saying that they don't want this union anymore, because they realize that they don't have any benefit in this union with the people of La Republique. France is the one benefiting everything, right? The people of Southern Cameroon had their country, their prime minister, their everything, that they took orders back from Britain. Okay, from Great Britain, from where you have the Queen Elizabeth was there then. Okay, they had a governor in Nigeria that was in charge of most of the other countries. So that is how British rule, okay, through indirect rule. Okay, so the union was very difficult. The union between the French system and the British system, the Anglo-Saxon system, it was very difficult. That is why the people of Southern Cameroon want their own system to be maintained. They don't want the French system, because the French system is like, they don't do anything. They don't do any development, nothing. Their own work is only that they should keep the CFA zone, okay, so that they can collect money every month. They have to send money to France. Okay, they are always solicited. These CFA zones are always solicited to provide this private funding to French politicians during elections in France. You have to send money even during their French elections. Yes, they will go to African countries. They will send them monies for campaign. You see, it is just now. Why do you think that these African countries are protesting now? It's because of the pact. Okay, the aftermath of the pact. Okay, the repercussions of the pact are still felt today. That's why you see this coup happening all over Africa. Yes, this coup is as a result of this pact. Most of these French African countries don't want this French pressure anymore. Okay. Yes. So this pact is the number one cause of the coup that is going on in these African countries. Okay. This French colonial pact. So whatever you see now, know that it's because the people of Africa are revolting against French rule. Okay, it's because. So when you see all this thing that is happening, know that it's because the people of Africa are fed up. Okay, they are tired of paying France. Everything they have to pay. France is the one controlling their money, controlling their political life, controlling their economy, controlling their resources, everything. How can you live a life like that, where everything is controlled? And these people still don't understand why the people of Ambazonia don't want to live this type of life, because in 2016, the people of Ambazonia realized this long ago, that this is not a life they will live. They have had enough. The coup you had in Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, Gabon, there's no difference, right? It's the same thing that the people of Ambazonia are fighting today, right? You cannot live in a country where France is the one doing everything. Then they have no problem with one president to stay there forever. Okay. The prediction is that, see, these people, imagine that one newspaper in Cameroon, in La Republique, the newspaper got a survey from the people of La Republique that 60% of the population say that there will be a coup in Cameroon. They banned the newspaper. I don't know why they will be banning a newspaper that is reporting about survey. Instead of you people to see what to do, you are banning a newspaper that report a survey done by an NGO, right? It's the same thing. When Cardinal Tumi did his survey, that 68% of the people of Amazonia don't want this union anymore. They want their total independence. Okay, they don't take it serious. Survey. What do you do during a survey? You have to instead try to work on what the survey is saying. You don't go and be arresting people who are conducting survey. In America, they conduct survey all the time. Okay. The recent survey they conducted is that 30% of Americans don't want Biden because Biden is too old to run for president. It's a survey. Why? So they go and arrest the people or CNN that report it, or the people that conduct the survey. They go and arrest them for why? Yeah. That is the dictatorship that we're talking about. And imagine that this survey are carried out by private agencies, right? It has nothing to do with who instead of you trying to work on the survey, you are instead going to ban a newspaper. This La Republique people. I mean, so not only was Africa not granted independence, all these countries, La Republique has not been granted independence. Okay. Never. All these countries, they have not granted independence yet. So whoever thinks that these countries have independence, no. Because if you are granted independence, then somebody is determining who to be president. Somebody will determine where to sell your goods. Somebody determine the prices of your goods. Yeah. Somebody is determining the companies that will run. Somebody is determining where to buy your military equipments. Somebody is determining that they are the one to train your military. Imagine, these are things that people sign, colonial pact. So what life do you have again if you say you are independent, but someone is controlling everything of your life? Yeah. Everything. What life do you have again? Then people will come and tell us that Amazonians, they are just fighting. So look at the French countries now. They are fighting now. They have come to their senses, right? They are fighting. Yes. African countries, like some of even these other Caribbean, African, they were given political independence, okay? But not the real independence, okay? Meaning that our people run their own election, but they run everything, okay? It means that they will run the other thing, and if they don't like you, they will impose the president on you. What happened to Gbagbo? Roland Gbagbo, who wanted to fight against the French government, he was sent to ICC. Laurent Gbagbo. That is one example. One example of these issues that are happening. Okay, just imagine. It is so pleasurable to see that, to see and understand that our own brothers in the Anglo-Saxon area or the English, area can understand what is happening, and how France is really impacting its negative cloud over these other countries and their resources, right? They are not independent, okay? And if you think that the people of Southern Cameroon can live in this union, lie. It's a big lie, because the people of Southern Cameroon have been engulfed in this cloud of France that is pondering all the resources. Okay, you cannot come in a union, then all the companies, the resources, the infrastructure that we brought have been either destroyed, okay, taken to the French by the French companies. Okay, everything has been destroyed. Okay, so what kind of environment that we have? The environment in which our leaders govern today is largely controlled by this, by a combination of the legacies of this pact. Yes, the pact that just the continuation of the colonialism, this colonization. It's just because when you say you are independent, but you still bring the baggage of the colonial system, then that's not okay. Okay, because this combination of this, the pact and the colonial system, okay, is just a guarantee for continuous exploitation of your resources, because most of the, and when the people of Southern Cameroon and Bazonia have like lockdowns and ghost towns and economic sabotage and all this, people don't understand why they do this. Okay, these are the reason why you have economic sabotage, so that these resources should not be taken anymore to France. Okay, because France determine the prices. I was talking about cocoa and coffee. The people of Southern Cameroon can sell their coffee 2 times the amount in Nigeria, neighboring Nigeria, than they sell in Douala, La République. And the cocoa and coffee are going back to France. France will buy 1 kilo of cocoa for 600, 500, 600. In Nigeria, it's 3 times that price. Imagine. Then they will come and tell you, don't sell your cocoa to Nigeria. Don't sell your coffee to Nigeria. We have the largest market. The people of Southern Cameroon have the largest market, Nigeria. They can do all kind of trade. We don't need any other country to trade with. Okay? But because of the influence of France, they would prefer to take that goods to Douala for a very small amount of money, then ship it to France. France will determine the price. France will tell you that, okay, this cocoa is a second-class cocoa. That's what they always say. They say, oh, no, it's a second-class cocoa. What cocoa is second-class? Cocoa is cocoa. Eh? People spend 1 full year to produce cocoa. Cocoa is, they pick cocoa once a year. Then France will determine the price of that cocoa, the price of that coffee. Rubber. People are producing even the oil. Different types of cash crops and foodstuffs coming from these areas. They will send them to different countries. But the people of Southern Cameroon, they are very lucrative in terms of production, right? So, fighting imperialism in Africa doesn't mean Africa will be isolated from the rest of the world. I know some people say, no, let's not be fighting, or let's not make it like no. It's just that these countries will still have their friendly and diplomatic ties. So it doesn't mean that France will be isolated or countries in Africa will be isolated. No. Okay, that is the right of the country to decide their diplomatic relationship. Okay, take for example, in Niger, they sent out the French ambassador, right? They sent out the French ambassador. They told him that we don't want to have France as our diplomatic relationship anymore, because the relationship is a one-sided relationship. France is only coming to collect, right? Okay. If the Nigerian government decide that they don't want a diplomatic relationship, so be it. Okay, diplomacy is a 50-by-50 relationship. Okay, if you have embassy in my country, I can have embassy in your country. If you give my diplomatic passport, I'll give your diplomatic passport. That's how it happens. It's not like France must bring in their military or bring in their diplomats by force. It doesn't work like that. Okay. Most of these African countries are being imposed this relationship, which is not fair. Okay, that's why we have seen in these countries now they are sending most of the other, because it's a diplomatic relationship. You should not force it. All these countries are independent countries. No matter how France is try to impose their relationship, impose their neo-colonial tendencies, they have their right to live what they want. Okay, until Africans understand and know their position, okay, they should know that they are still under colonial rule. Okay, because you cannot be independent, then you allow your currency to be controlled by France. France control your currency. France, you know that France control even their internet, their network, everything. Because the money is French franc that they use. When you send MoneyGram or Western Union, it go to be, France get at least some percentage from that money, either 5%. Yes, because France is the one printing the money. This money is not printed in these African countries. These African countries use French franc, but they don't print the money. France prints the money. So France determines the currency exchange. Okay, if they can put it to 500, they can make it to 600 sometimes. Them, that's how they fluctuate the money. But these African countries don't have control over the money. It's not their money. Okay, France control it. That's why they call it French franc. French franc. It's not their money. So that's why sometimes you see the money will be fluctuating. Sometimes it goes to 500, 550, 600, 650. Goes down, come down. It's because France is making a lot of money from the exchange. Okay, when they make it up, they try to make some money. When they do it, so anyhow they do, the money still goes some percent. When you do transfer, MTN, imagine how many remittances go to African countries, right? All these 14 African countries that are using CFA today, if you send money to those countries, France has a share in that money. Because it goes back to French bank. Okay, it goes back to French bank. Then they send the money now to. Okay, that's how it happens. So you don't understand that even most of the salaries are being paid by French bank. BISEC bank, the Afrique Centrale is the bank of CEMAC. It's a CEMAC bank. the SEC is the one paying salaries of civil servants in these countries. So you see how France is still holding African countries, these former French colonies. So when people don't understand that, if Ambazonians are there doing that, they think that federation, they don't understand. You go and federate in this system, you will not survive. You will not. They are putting the next president in Cameroon, in La République. Frank Biya is the next president. You guys say you are federalists. Doing what there? What do you gain from that relationship? Nothing. For almost half a century, France has maintained this substantial colonial empire in Africa. So it's not something, okay? Some of you see. So though direct rule ended in 1960 during the independence era, French influence over these former possessions still continue. So if you care, you say you are a federalist, you are this, you don't even know what is happening behind the scene. Okay? Because France, if France can control the political, security, economic, cultural, imagine. So what interest do you serve in if you maintain the relationship that you are a federalist? Nothing, because France is controlling you, controlling La République, and you inside. You see, so you don't even have anything to say, even, because you'll be, you know what they call the 2 cubes of sugar. You'll be that 2 cubes of sugar then, because they'll just melt you. So those people who say they are preferring, it is very unfortunate that this French economic, political, and you see, their brutality has not ended. And Dr. Arikana really made it very, very clear, because it's when you see this, okay, how can you say that Africa is independent with all these facts surrounding them? Okay, it's very difficult. Okay, so it is. You saw the Italian Prime Minister who lambasted on Macron and France, right? He called out France on the same issue, right? That it's about time that France leave Africa. Okay, but it's also about time that everyone calls out France, because when you say, "Oh, you are federalist," these federalist people, instead of you checking on what kind of federal system you are talking about, you are instead lambasting on people who are fighting for their freedom. So you federalists, you go and fight the people in Niger, or the people in Mali, or you go and fight people in Burkina Faso now. How about Gabon? These are the people who have realized that France is only there to usurp them. So you cannot blame them. They realize themselves. And good enough, the people of Ambazonia did that long ago. Since 2016, the people of Ambazonia realized that no, this is not a relationship to be in. Right? So in many ways, the process of colonization really shaped that political and economic relationship. Okay, that landscape that France really wanted. So France just maintained everything. There's no change. The French Colonial Pact, which was signed in the late 1940s, was an agreement. That agreement is between France and its colonies in Africa. So it is still there. The only country that has cancelled this pact, remember, I think it's Mali, and I think Niger cancelled some of them. So I think Niger Council, maybe the military pact, the one that concerns. But there's about 10 of them or 11. So if Mali is the only country among the 14 countries. So France's presence is still there. Okay. So whether you try to frame it, the post-independence relationship is still like colonial era, because that pact is still there. They used to send more than 80% of their currency to the French bank, but now it's around 50%. Imagine La République sent 50% of their income to French bank. That's how French print their money now and send them now the money now to run the economy. If you don't know. So before you say you are a proud federalist or you are a unionist, start thinking. Those people who say they are unionists, they don't even know what is happening. Yes, that pact is there. This agreement that was signed during that era of Cold War. Okay, it was a time when France and the Western countries were still fighting to maintain hold on power. It's still today. So you can go and preach your federalism or unionism by yourself. The pre-Ambazonians don't want that relationship because it will not benefit us. For the past 60 years, it has not benefited us. How do you think now it will benefit you when you see even the French African countries are running away now from France? They are running. They don't even want. You carry your own baby head. Go and say you are a federalist, you are a unionist. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure with you, and thank you for watching. Please share, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button.